Hello and welcome back to your trusted local podcast. I am Becky Phelps.
And I am Beth Malicki. We appreciate you joining us.
Do you mind, Beth, if I start this week with some less local than usual content?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we had a very fascinating case come out of the Quad Cities area, actually right over the border in Illinois.
Okay.
A cold case. Now, you remember the cold case that we covered a few
yeah.
months ago? You know, it's been a big deal, a lot of talking about cold cases this summer, it feels like. This one is about 11-year-old Trudy Appleby.
Okay.
Who went missing from her home in Moline back in 1996.
Oh my gosh, that's horrifying.
It's haunted this whole community.
Sure.
She's like the poster child for kids who went missing, you know, like the milk cartons, like the warning story.
Yeah, have you seen me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was last seen getting into someone's car outside her home after having asked her father if she could go swimming.
Okay.
And her father said no, but it appears as though she may have, tried to go anyways.
That happens.
Got in this car, was never seen again.
Okay. No. I hate it.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
It was years, it was decades before anything really happened. And then the police started getting some leads. They named some suspects.
Okay.
It's actually a very interesting timeline of naming a suspect. That person may have passed away, following some different
well, it's been so many years.
It's been so many years. They did name a suspect back in 2022 that was still alive.
Okay.
Jamison Fisher. And today they officially announced that a grand jury indicted now 50-year-old Jamison Fisher for the murder of Trudy Appleby.
I was still holding out hope that she maybe would be found alive.
No.
But no, they think he killed her when she was 11 years old.
Yes. Which is interesting what you bring up, though. They have not ever found her remains.
Oh, her family. I know.
And they still have not. Even
So how do we know, what evidence have they shared? What evidence is it the genealogical DNA?
They are declining right now to get into the investigation too much.
Okay.
They don't want to give up too many details. But they say they are positive this is the guy.
Wow.
And they even say, so he's facing, and I found this fascinating, he's being charged in Henry County, which is in Illinois.
Uh-huh.
He's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder.
So I don't always know. So in Iowa, if he were charged with 3 counts, that means he killed 3 people.
This is not what that means.
That is not what it means in Illinois.
No.
Okay, yeah, it is different state to state, and we have to, be cognizant of that.
It is very interesting. So it's 3 counts of first-degree murder for only the death of Trudy Appleby. And then also 1 count of concealment of a homicidal death. So moving, hiding the body.
So now we're waiting on the search warrant.
We are waiting for, he is currently in custody in Scott County, Iowa.
Oh.
So he's not going anywhere.
Okay.
He's under for something
found him.
unrelated.
Yeah.
He's under arrest for something unrelated in Scott County, Iowa. And so they are waiting to kind of figure out if they're going to get him back here for the trial, like how long that's going to take. But all those charges are awaiting him in Henry County.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm just so sorry for her family, and at the same time so grateful that maybe there's going to be justice in this situation.
Someone asked, how the family reacted to the news. The family was not at the press conference.
Okay.
And the police chief of Moline shared that the family was, obviously a lot of mixed emotions.
Yeah. Bringing it all back.
Yeah. It doesn't bring Trudy back, but it does bring them some relief, knowing that hopefully justice is coming for her.
Wow, and we'll be following this story, and even though it isn't in our viewing area per se, that definitely, I'm sure people who've lived in this area, you said 1996, remember her disappearance, and we will be following it to its full conclusion with potentially a conviction.
Absolutely.
All right. So we had an interesting story this week. Monday, we started getting phone calls that people had seen or heard of a plane crash in a field, a farm field, somewhere in Jones County. And we were really in a pickle. And, Jones County is a sizable square footage and didn't get a lot of information that we felt we could take action on at that time.
That's tricky. Because no matter how many Facebook messages we get, unless someone's, got it on video or something, it's so hard to confirm those things.
It is. And it's, we, had some stomach frustration, feelings about not knowing what had happened until the next day, Tuesday of this week, is when we learned indeed a plane had crashed. Now, we live in Iowa. We are used to small-ish planes hovering pretty close to farm fields to spread chemicals. That's, crop dusters. That's what they do. So a lot of the assumption was maybe that was it. That is not what happened here. This was actually a Vietnam-era plane that had been lovingly restored. I believe it was first manufactured in 1953. And sadly, the pilot, the only person who was on the plane when it crashed, did die. And it was so very sad. This was a very experienced pilot, not just in flying older planes that he had himself rebuilt. By the way, his name is James Rolfe. But this is also a man who was known in the specialty plane universe as a go-to Mr. Fix-It.
Wow.
And what happened was, according to what we've gleaned from the FAA and from the Monticello Regional Airport, is that he took off from the Monticello Regional Airport. That is where he had that particular plane housed in a hangar, and knew pretty quickly something was amiss with the plane, the aircraft, and he radioed back and said, "I'm coming back, something is wrong." And he was attempting to return when he went down, and he said, "I'm going down in a bean field." And we did not report this. This is just information that we heard from his friends, but it didn't make it into the story. They said they believe the ground was so soft that the plane flipped, and that is what ultimately killed him. Now, we have no way of verifying that.
Wow.
The NTSB is investigating, and we do not know if the softness of the ground, the way the landing occurred, whatever. We don't know what led to his death. We also don't know what led to the plane failing and forcing him to do an emergency landing in the farm field. But we had some of the most beautiful tributes to James Rolfe from his friends in the plane community. One quote from Paul Walter. He flew a lot. He was a very good aviator, very knowledgeable, read a lot about aviation. And he went on to say that anytime he had a question, Rolfe would be there with an answer, sometimes flying hundreds of miles to bring a piece of equipment to someone who was working on a plane. These aren't like the commercial, planes we take.
No, they're hobbyists.
These are hobbyists, and then they do the shows, the air shows. Just a really beloved man, dying doing what he loved, but it doesn't take away the pain, obviously, that his family and friends are feeling in losing him. But we don't often, thankfully, have plane crashes that we cover, and this one we were a little late to the jump. But we were grateful to be able to talk to people who care about him and could really paint a picture, not just of the way that he died, but of the way that he lived.
I'm glad you mentioned that, the theories, maybe because, we talk about he's so experienced.
Right.
He has been working on this. He built it himself. It makes you wonder,
Yeah, what other factors?
Yeah. Thank you, Beth.
For sure.
That is lovely to hear just from families, which often we don't.
We don't.
From friends.
And I also understand why people are reticent to
Yeah.
turn to, local TV news station and share the worst day of their life.
I'm sure he has an incredible legacy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Especially in that community.
So what else you got?
Let's go to jobs.
Okay,
How
very
often-
important.
How often do you keep up with the unemployment reports?
Well, I'm paid to.
Right.
So every time they come out, and we always have this
I
monthly.
love that you said that because I think technically I am too, and I do not always read them.
Well, we fight about him a lot in the newsroom because unemployment, like almost every statistic you can point to, is an imperfect measure. My argument is, yes, I understand it's not capturing the full depth and breadth of the unemployment picture in this country or in this state. I would also argue it is consistent over time. So it can show us, are things getting better, are things getting worse, and what are those trends and why? This is literally an argument I have every month, because some people in the newsroom named will be protected. They don't want us to cover anything regarding unemployment because it is not an accurate snapshot.
The trend, though, I do think is important.
Thank you.
I will side with you on the trend side of things. And I think it's especially, it's a fun thing to point to regarding some reporter stories that we've had in the past couple weeks. So we just had a reporter, Grace Vance, do a story about Iowa losing young adults.
Oh, I'm living this.
With your kids?
I have 3 adult children.
Yeah.
None of them live in the state. And I am sad about it. Now, they're not living in the state, not because they couldn't get jobs here. There are some other mitigating factors. But as a parent, I really would love for Iowa to, as this study showed, what we currently don't have are enough jobs that can compete with other states for highly educated people.
That is it. People are going to Chicago, New York, Texas. So this, the nonprofit research group, Common Sense Institute. Iowa had a net loss of more than 3,000 college-educated Iowans in the year of 2023. That was their showing. 3,000, and they're specifically looking at college-educated people who go in search of higher education for a career and then get out of the state for that career.
And largely are in Iowa throughout their educational experience, K to 12 plus 4. And did they point to, is it really just not as competitive jobs, not as much money for the job you want?
That seems to be it. Either there's not opportunity at all for some of these careers. There's just, Iowa doesn't have a lot of those things. I think Grace spoke to someone who was in the food.
Yes, she was. She was at Iowa State, and she came up with some freeze-dried ice cream. I read an article that she did about a project she did when she was an undergrad. So yeah, she's legit.
Fascinating. And she moved to New York City because that's where the opportunities were for her. Not even just, better paying opportunities, but just the opportunities for her sector. So that was very interesting. And I found this number terrifying. Per graduate that Iowa loses, so per person, works out to almost $400,000 in tax revenue over the course of their life. So if that person had stayed in Iowa, they would have generated $400,000 worth of tax revenue.
Wow. I mean, because they are college educated, so their income potential is higher, statistically speaking. We do know that is narrowing between people who don't have 4-year degrees and those who do, but I'm just speaking, there is still a gap there in lifetime earnings. That's significant. And you know who I love to talk about? Debbie Durham.
Debbie Durham! I was wondering when I was making the notes for this.
It's not.
I was wondering if we would get a Debbie Durham
I'm not
reference.
being political because I do recognize she's a political appointee in the state government, but she's the top boss when it comes to, as you know, economics. So she's the head economic leader, and Iowa's had a tough go of it when it comes to its economy, specifically because the ag sector has really struggled these past couple of years and beyond that, but really these last few years. And Debbie Durham, she came to Cedar Rapids a few months ago. I think she was in Coralville. Everywhere she goes, she has this like stocks pitch, which is normal, but her pitch is, we need more people. We need more humans in Iowa to get our economy humming, which is an interesting, perspective of someone who is in charge of the economy from a political perspective in the state of Iowa. And so this kind of data backs up what she is saying and also must strike fear in her heart.
Oh, absolutely. Because how do you, there's no short-term solution for this.
No, this is a long game, and I'm not going to pretend to know the solution. The one I think Governor Reynolds has pointed to is there is a new medical school coming online in the state of Iowa in Dubuque. And Governor Reynolds ushered in a package that is intended to make it easier for Iowa students to get their medical degrees in the state with loan forgiveness, with residency opportunities. That's obviously just one sector.
Right. But
it's something.
You got to start somewhere.
And perhaps there are more things that I just don't have top of mind to try to address this. I'm surprised that the study does not mention some of the things we hear anecdotally. And that is young people especially, who are liberal-minded, are leaving Iowa because of its political temperature.
Absolutely. And we hear that kind of story all the time.
We do, but their research did not point to that at all.
Their research, if I can say words, really focuses in on career opportunities.
I wonder if people, and I'm just thinking, we are not from Iowa. My husband and I were both from Missouri, and we came here because of financial opportunities. My job here at KCRG TV 9. We did not take into consideration, to be completely blunt, the political landscape. I don't think I really understood much about Iowa's politics till we got here. We had 2 kids already. My husband had gotten his law degree. We needed money. I mean, I'm just to put it very plainly, we needed money, we needed health insurance, and the opportunity here at KCRG was simply more competitive than what I was seeing elsewhere. So I get it, and granted that was 20 years ago. I get chasing money, which sounds negative. I don't mean it negative.
You have to.
It gives you
afford your
opportunity.
life.
I mean, look at this hair, these nails, these clothes. I need money.
We have to. It's and things are getting more expensive.
Oh yeah.
You know, and even that anecdotally, like, it's hard to find a career, especially with, you know, if you have student loans, you have to pay those back. It's hard to find a career that can support people financially. It's
Absolutely.
difficult. Especially we'll get to the unemployment rate
Yeah.
that's out right now, which is holding steady. The unemployment rate in the state is holding steady, but it's at 3.7%, which is up from a year ago and up from the month before. So not a great outlook at the moment. It is lower, I will say, than the national unemployment rate, which is at 4.2%. And these numbers are for July. The numbers come out for the month before.
So my general vibe on unemployment is anything under 5% is awesome. But
Could be worse.
But I'm old. I'm 48. I've seen a lot of unemployment stuff. I was born in '76 when things were a little rough in this country when it came to the economy. Having said that, one thing our boss always wants us to look at when we talk about the unemployment rate is, what about the workforce participation numbers? So why does that matter? So pretend like Becky and I we're unemployed, and we're trying to find work. We're sending out resumes on LinkedIn. We are calling our mentors and asking them to open doors for us. We are updating our resume. We are both doing the work. I get so frustrated with not getting calls back, with not getting job opportunities offered to me, that I decide to be out of it. I don't want to be in the workforce anymore. I'm going to focus on maybe raising my family. I'm going to focus on finding myself. I'm done. I just
Eat, pray, love.
Eat, pray, love it. I quit the job hunt. So what happens to the unemployment numbers for people like me, who maybe was searching for work and then gave up? I'm no longer counted in the unemployment numbers because I've stopped looking for work. Unemployment only counts the unemployed who are actively seeking employment. But that workforce participation number, that does count me. That shows a loss. One person who was trying to find work has just quit the workforce. So if you really want to get a full picture of the unemployment rate in Iowa, definitely look at those trends that you mentioned and take a look. Are people getting so fed up with their options that they're opting out? Not that they're leaving the state, not that they're moving, because it only counts if you live here, but that you are saying, I am sick of this nonsense.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And Iowa's had some trouble with their workforce participation for a while. It is improving.
Well, the executive director of the Iowa Workforce Development included in this press release we got about the unemployment rate, included that there are 50,000 open jobs on iowaworks.gov.
So let's talk about that. Have you looked at those jobs?
Not today.
I have. Not today.
Tell me about.
A lot of them are in food service. A lot of them are in healthcare. We're talking CNAs, which do very difficult work for very little compensation. Similar in food service. So not all of them. There's also manufacturing opportunities. There's educational opportunities. But the large portion of those 50,000 open positions are not necessarily going to align with your highly educated or your folks who are looking at making peak income for a family of 4 in their 50s.
Yeah.
Like, it
Those jobs are not
encompasses
gonna
everything.
keep those people in Iowa.
And Iowa Works, which is Iowa's rebranding of the unemployment office. So if you want to know what Iowa Works is, you never heard of it, it's just unemployment. The unemployment office for the state of Iowa, Iowa Works, has long said there's a mismatch. We've got people looking for work. we've got jobs, they're missing each other because they're either not, the people aren't trained up for those positions, or those positions aren't offering what these people are demanding.
We have 64,900 unemployed Iowans.
So shouldn't,
And we have 50,000 open jobs.
so
So if this like worked perfectly, we
Yeah.
would have 14,000.
so few unemployed people, we
Yes.
would be setting the nation on fire with our
Right.
amazing economy and outcomes.
It is just fascinating how all of these things just simply do not line up. Especially like anecdotally, I've heard from a lot of people that it takes so long to get a job right now, to find a job, to get a call back.
And what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to sacrifice benefits? Are you willing to move? Are you willing to not have full 40 hours a week? Are you willing to change sectors entirely and start over? I'm not a career coach, but that
Would you
sounds
rather
thrilling and terrifying.
Pay $2,000 a month for rent in New York City. You know, like,
Exactly.
and you start weighing crazy options.
Yeah. All right, how much time we got? Are we are we close?
We are reaching the end of our time today.
All right, well, it has been joyful. I hope people have learned something. I know I
certainly-
have.
Yeah. If not from you, from Debbie Durham.
God, I love her.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us again for your Trusted Local podcast.
Have a good one.